What's going on, everybody? Welcome into our first off-season midweek live show. Really sad that, you know what, I'm just kind of cut down to going live with you guys once a week now that the watch parties are over. But so happy we can join together every Tuesday evening. You know where I'll be. I know where you'll be, right here hanging out with me on Ravens Rundown. On today's show, we got a loaded show for you still. We still got a ton to talk about. I told you that right when we hit the offseason, we're not dialing back the coverage, okay? If anything, we're kicking it even more up. So on today's show, the first thing we're talking about is the perfect offseason plan for the Baltimore Ravens. The 5 things I think Baltimore should do to guarantee a Super Bowl 2025. I'm going to say it. I'm guaranteeing a Super Bowl in today's episode. Tune in. And then the second thing we got to talk about is the Ravens got some encouraging news on Lamar Jackson and why we should still have faith in his ability to win a Super Bowl. And then coming up at last, my favorite segment, your favorite segment, everybody's favorite segment, our live Ravens mailbag. Before we get into any of the awesome content, I need to hear from you guys in the chat down below. Who is to blame for Sunday night's loss against the Bills, okay? I am sure I'm going to see a lot of Mark Andrews. I'm sure I'm going to see majority Mark Andrews. I'm sure I'm going to see some Lamar, some Todd Monken, some John Harbaughs. You guys let me know in the chat down below. I want to hear who you guys want. What head you guys want on a steak after Sunday's loss against the Bills. And also we got joining us today our super fire producer, Mr. Jack Lotteray. Jack, I'm assuming, we weren't together on Sunday. I'm assuming you watched Sunday night, man?
Look. Oh, gains all the way down.
There we go.
There we are. Look, I feel bad, guys. I wanted the Ravens. Watching that game was absolutely heartbreaking. I feel for you guys. But look, it's off-season time to regroup.
Yep.
Time to get better. Time to push for that 2025 run. So
yeah.
I'm excited.
We got 7 months to get ready for it, man. It's going to be a lot of excitement. Going to be a lot of things that this team has to figure out, okay? But the good thing is for the most part, you see a lot of other teams, and you see a lot of the things they have to do before the next season. And for the most part, you got to sign a couple free agents. You got to kind of target some top prospects in the draft. But for the most part, I think a lot of this next season is just going to be running it back with the same coaching staff, with this same roster for the most part, and just seeing if something can click when you get to the postseason. We got a ton of people already in here with us. Joe saying, Joey, hey, how you doing today? Joe, I'm doing great, man. I'm doing real great. Ravens King says he blames Mark Andrews for the loss. Ty Man also blames Mark Andrews. Fab says Andrew has a lot of value, so they can trade him. They can. I talked about that this morning. If you guys haven't watched that yet, go and check it out. We got a lot of more comments to get to, but before we do any of that, I got to give a shout-out to the sponsors of today's stream. Our first one is our friends over at Game Time. And today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Ladies and gentlemen, it is playoff time, and I can promise you there's nothing that can quite compare to the rush and excitement you feel watching your team win a playoff game either at home or on the road. And if you want to have that memory for the rest of your life, that's where Game Time can help out. The connection you feel to your team, city, and fellow fans around you in those electric playoff environments leads to bonds that last a lifetime. Game Time has an awesome new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. That makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is Game Time. Our next sponsors are friends over at Prize Picks, and you can sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. And the big game's almost here. It's now or never, so don't miss out on the last football game of the season with Prize Picks because it's the best place to win cash while watching the big game. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive a $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. I got a couple Prize Picks for the upcoming NFC Championship game. I got the more on Jaden Daniels passing yards because it's just half a yard. Take advantage, folks. And then I got the more on both Terry McLaurin and A.J. Brown touchdowns. I think they'll both find the end zone, and really excited to see who wins out of that one. So, again, Prize Picks, $50. All you got to do is just play 5. Prize Picks, run your game. If you guys want to be featured on today's show, we are doing an open Q&A mailbag. So all you got to do is ask me a question. Use hashtag Ravens in the live chat down below. Or if you want to guarantee that your question gets on today's show, then you can super chat to make sure that you're on the episode, that I answer your question, and all that is fine and dandy. So if you got any questions, it can be about the Ravens. It can be about Sunday night's loss against the Bills. It can be about free agency. It can be about the draft. It can be about my dog. I don't care. If you got a question you want me to answer, use hashtag Ravens and ask it in the live show. I also want to make sure that you guys are hitting that thumbs up button, because that's the great thing about the thumbs up button, right? It tells YouTube, hey, I like this. And then YouTube sees, you know what? A lot of people are liking this. So then what YouTube does is it pushes it out to more Ravens fans. So then we can just have more people in here on the stream. We can have more people in on the channel. And we can just keep growing, because we've grown a ton this year. And I'm thankful to every single one of you guys who have led to that growth. So I just ask very kindly, free way to support me, free way to support the channel. Just go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. And once you've liked it, type me in the chat. Yeah, you got to drown out the Bills fan. Bills Mafia is he's trolling bad. So we need to spam the memes if you liked it. You got to like the video and tell me when you have, so that way I can give you a shout out in today's live stream. I see we got Prince Param in here. Says that Ravens, do you see Lamar Jackson winning the Super Bowl on the Ravens? Prince, you got to use hashtag or the number sign or the that's not ampersand. That's the pound. The pound. That's it. See, we just haven't had real phones in a very long time. See, exactly. Look at what Cool Fire did. Hashtag Ravens. Do you really think we're going to trade Andrews? Great question, Cool Fire. I made a video about that this morning if you want to go check it out. But we will answer that question on today's show. Go ahead, like the video, type me when you liked it. We got Attendance Squad, we got Bubba, we got Ravens King. Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports has liked it. Very, very kind of them to do so. So shout out to them. Keep filing in here as you guys file in. Make sure to hit that like button. We got 18 likes, 52 people. I'm about to go into the first cut. When I get back, that needs to be at least 25 likes. Okay, we need to be at least 50%. That's what I'm doing. That's what we're doing, so help me out. All right, coming up, we got the perfect offseason plan. Don't go anywhere. We got a ton of Ravens football to get into because, yes, again, I know it. It's the offseason, but that doesn't mean the offseason can't be fun. That doesn't mean the offseason can't be exciting. It's going to be a great year on the channel, whether the Ravens are playing football or whether they're not. So thanks so much for joining me. All right, Jack, you ready? Let me take a sip, and let's get into it. Let's do it. Welcome into my perfect offseason. If I was Eric DeCosta, if I was John Harbaugh, these are all the moves that I would make to guarantee a Ravens Super Bowl in the 2025 NFL season. Welcome into the show, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. And you know what, guys? I'm going to ask you to just go ahead and hit that subscribe button because we got a huge offseason coming up. The Ravens, yet again, got short of their Super Bowl goals. So what are they going to do over these next 7 months to make sure that doesn't happen again next season? Ravens Rundown will be here. We'll be bringing the heat all offseason long. So make sure to join us by hitting that sub button. Let's start with the perfect offseason plan, and we're going to start with trading Mark Andrews. Okay, I made a video about that earlier this week, and I want to preface like I did on that. I'm not saying trade him just because of the drop in the fumble, right? Huge drop, huge fumble, huge mistakes that probably led to the loss in that game against the Bills. You can debate on whose fault that actually was. But I'm not saying trade him just because I'm mad about that. We would have had these conversations anyway. What I'm saying to trade him because is you can save $11 million by cutting or trading Andrews before the 2025 season. And I think regardless of what happened on Sunday night, Andrews could have gone off for 6 touchdowns and 300 yards receiving. Maybe if it was that good, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But he could have had just a normal game, a good game, a solid game. And I think I still would have been having these combos, okay? And when you just look at the financials, I think it's obvious why this is kind of the perfect time to cut ties with him, okay? He's entering a contract year. He's set to earn $11 million this season, a $5.9 million dead cap, $16.9 million cap hit, and he has a $4 million roster bonus due on March 16th. And guys, I know what you're hearing. I'm going to tell you don't hear that, because right now in your ears, you're hearing Joey thinks Mark Andrews sucks. Joey thinks Mark Andrews is the reason they lost that game. Joey thinks Mark Andrews should be gone. I'm not saying that, guys. I'm just saying that financially it makes sense, because the Ravens currently, they sit at $17.3 million in cap space. That might sound like a lot of money, because I've never seen that amount of money in my entire life, and I probably never will. But that's only good enough for 23rd in the NFL, okay? And like I said before, Mark is a legend. Mark will be remembered forever, okay? He is engraved in the history books as the franchise leader in touchdown catches. That's not going to change, but I just think this makes more financial sense, okay? So what should Baltimore do? You tell me. Should they trade him? Should they keep him? If you think trade him, type T for trade. If you think keep him, go ahead, give me a K for keep. Step 2 on our off-season plan, perfect off-season plan, I think you should re-sign Ronnie Stanley, okay? And I know this one isn't like an unpopular opinion. Ronnie Stanley played his best football in his career this year. His first time being healthy in a long time. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, but if you look at the PFF grades, you can see in pass blocking, he's a top 20 tackle, top 21 tackle. Overall, he's top 40, right? He's better than the majority of the guys getting snaps in the NFL. But the most important part of this season, in my opinion, was the health factor, okay? It was the first time in his career that he's played every game in a season. And you can see since 2020, those injuries have really been rearing their ugly heads, okay? 6 games played, then 1 game played, 11-13, and then you have 17 games played this season. Now, I will say it is a risk, because it's gonna probably cost you a pretty penny, but also left tackles don't just go on trees. Speaking of that pretty penny, though, that's the challenging part, because he is, and he will be, the top available tackle on the market, and that will likely drive the price up significantly, okay? So my contract projection for what Ronnie Stanley will most likely get, either from Baltimore or somebody else who desperately needs a tackle, either at the right tackle or left tackle position, is 3 years, $60 million, okay? I think you got to take into account the age. He's 30 years old. I think you got to take into account the injury history as well. I think that will drive the price down a little bit, possibly a hometown discount with Baltimore, but at the most part, I don't think you're getting them cheaper for anything than less than $20 million. And Jeremy Fowler tends to agree with me. This is what he had to say. He said, Stanley will be hard to re-sign. He has had a resurgent season, and lesser tackles are getting $20 million or more per year. Plus, the Ravens traditionally haven't been afraid to go young along their offensive line. This could be it after 9 seasons in Baltimore. And you heard Jeremy Fowler, right? He doesn't think this is going to happen, but I think this needs to happen. There is nothing quite like consistency on an offensive line. There's nothing quite like consistency at that left tackle position for an all-pro quarterback, and Ronnie Stanley can be that and has been that this year for Lamar Jackson, okay? So what do you say? What should the Ravens do with Ronnie Stanley? Should they sign him? Or should they just pass on him and let him hit free agency? You let me know in the comment section down below. Before we get into anything else, the rest of our 3 points for our perfect offseason plan, I got to talk about the sponsor of today's video. There's our good friends over at Game Time. It is the best place to go because it has the best seats for the lowest prices guaranteed. And the big game, guys, is almost here. And if you want to get tickets to it locked down, use our friends at Game Time, because I can promise you there's nothing that can quite compare to the rush and excitement you feel watching your team win a playoff game either at home or on the road. And if you want to have that memory for the rest of your life, that's where Game Time can help out. The connection you feel to your team, city, and fellow fans around you in those electric playoff environments leads to bonds that last a lifetime. Game Time has an awesome new feature. It's called Game Time Picks, and that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats that you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The tool highlights the best deals, including great and amazing deals for the highest value seats at the time. For some events, Game Time Picks also identifies a super deal, which is the best seat value in the venue. There's so many things that I love about Game Time, but I just love the fact that you can see the view from your seat. Okay, guys, I can't tell you how many sporting events I've been to, whether it's a baseball game, basketball game, football game, where there's something blocking my view, and I'm sitting there thinking, you know what? I wouldn't have bought tickets to this if I would have known this was going to be the seat. And that's the great thing about Game Time is you can see your seat before you even buy the ticket. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. The link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is Game Time. So number 3, I think this team has to draft a pass rusher, okay? And I know what you're saying. I know what you're thinking. Because on the surface, at like a 300-foot view of it all, this pass rush and this defense, honestly, they had a pretty great year, okay? Team sacks, 54, second best in the NFL. Team sack percentage, 7.7. Fifth best in the NFL. Kyle Van Noy had 12.5 sacks. Odafe Owe had 10 sacks. You had 2 guys get into the double digits, but it's when you take a deeper look, you see that maybe this pass rush was not as good as we all kind of thought it was along the season. So if you look at pass rush win rate, which is meaning what percent of your pass rushes do you beat the tackle or the offensive lineman that's guarding you, or it's blocking you, within 2.5 seconds. They only did it 33% of the time, 29th best in the NFL. Run stop win rate, okay? 29.0, 26th best in the NFL. They had a quarterback pressure rate of 31.4%, 25th best in the NFL, and their average time to pressure was 2.88 seconds. That was dead last in the National Football League. So something needs to change. Okay, because you're getting sacks, you're just not pressuring the quarterback enough. And I know I harped on this before the Bills game, and I know I harped on this during the Bills game, but that was going to be a key to win that game, is to pressure Josh Allen. And you weren't able to do it. He had all day long to just kind of stand, pat the ball, and deliver a strike. And he did it, and you lost the game. Okay, so my top picks when I look at this NFL draft, I got 3 guys that I see a possibility of falling to that pick number 27, okay? Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State, James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee, go Vols, and then Jalen Walker out of Georgia. All 3 of those guys had pretty solid years. Jack Sawyer, I would say the best consistency, but Jalen Walker led the 3 of sacks. James Pierce Jr. led the 3 in tackles for loss. And honestly, guys, I'd love any of those guys to fall to 27. I think James Pierce might be my pick of the litter, and I'm not just saying that because I went to Tennessee and I love the Vols. But guys, his ceiling is just incredibly high, okay? Before this year, he was mocked as like the number 1 or number 2 edge rusher to be taken, and he still has all those things that you can't teach, like the size and like the speed. I think it'd be more of a risk, but I think the ceiling is just higher for him. But anyway, even if it's not him, I think you got to draft a pass rusher in round 1 or round 2 because that's going to be critical in the 2025 NFL season. Help us out, okay? Help me out. Help me convince Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh. Do you want Baltimore to draft a pass rusher? If so, if you're like me, hit that thumbs up button, like the video, let's send a message. Number 4, and I think, I don't want to say the most important of all these, but like, I really want this one to happen, guys. You got to make Monken stay, okay? It's just like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This was the historically second best offense in the history of this league, only behind the greatest show on turf. Okay? And when you look at their total EPA, expected points added per play was plus 0.17. Best in the NFL. Their expected points added per pass, best in the NFL. Expected points added per rush, 4th best in the NFL. They had more yards per game than anybody else, and they tied for second with 62 touchdown scores. And just look what Monken did with the big 3. I get it. Those guys are going to go get yards. They're going to go get touchdowns wherever they go, but not like this, ladies and gentlemen. Almost 5,000 total yards for Lamar, 2,000 total yards for Derrick Henry, and Zay Flowers had his best season yet. These guys were absolutely unreal, and it's all because of the offensive mastermind, Todd Monken, making the ship go, okay? The thing is people across the league have seen that, and they said, you know what, maybe he can change our offense. Let's see if we can get him in here, right? He's interviewed with the Jaguars job. He interviewed for the Bears job. They just hired Ben Johnson, though, so he's not going to go there. And then the Raiders have requested to interview him. He has not accepted that request yet, okay? So my take on this whole thing, my take on making Monken stay is, yes, I know what you're saying in the comment section. He had a bit of questionable calls in that playoff game. He had some questionable calls along the entirety of the year, but guys, it wasn't many. Okay, truly, it was not many, and what he did with this offense this last year, I think it's history book stuff. You got to keep that guy in the building. I think keeping consistency in that offensive coordinator is the best for your quarterback. So, keep Monken in Baltimore, baby. And then number 5, my final step to the perfect offseason plan. I think you go snag a wide receiver in free agency. Okay, I think you go get a piece that could fit in with Zay Flowers, that could fit in with Rashad Bateman. I don't think Nelson Aguilar is a guy that gets re-signed. I think there's a chance that this team trades Mark Andrews. So that's one less pass catcher, two less pass catchers. Go get some guys that are kind of different skill position players than Zay Flowers is. And so I got some favorites in that list, okay? My favorites are Chris Godwin, Elijah Moore, Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer, and DeAndre Hopkins. Of those 5, my 4 favorites are those bottom 3. Because in my opinion, a guy like Keenan Allen, a guy like Josh Palmer, and DeAndre Hopkins, those guys are all kind of different receivers than anything you've got on this roster right now, okay? You've got the quick guys, the small guys, the guys who run 4.3 40s and are absolute burners, like Zay Flowers, like Devontae Walker, like Tylan Wallace. But you don't have any of those guys who are much over 6 foot that are just go up, grab it, possession, deep ball receivers. And so I think if you bring in a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, if you bring in a guy like Josh Palmer, if you bring in a guy like Keenan Allen, I think those 3 guys will give Lamar Jackson a different look at receiver than he's ever had, okay? So drop your take down below. Name a free agent you want Baltimore to sign. Let me know. It can be any of the guys I said. It can be any guy you want. Just let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. I really do appreciate every single one of you. And again, like I said at the top of the show, we're bringing the heat all offseason long, okay? Every month, every day until this team kicks off, we'll give you offseason coverage, the best anywhere on YouTube. So if you haven't already, make sure to hit that sub button. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, 1 segment down, 2 to go. Hey, I said I wanted 25 likes coming out of that. We got 31. That's all good stuff, baby. Nicky Lopez. How we doing over there, my friend? He's just chilling. We got Nick Lopez hanging out with us in the studio. He is shadowing. This is his first ever live stream shadow. Go ahead. Go say hi. He's coming into frame. He's going to break the window and fall out first. There he goes. He says, what's up? Nick is shadowing. I imagine Jack will see him on a live stream in the future. Is that the plan? There we go. Nick Lopez is on Saints tomorrow. I imagine you guys will see him sometime in the future. Ravens King, great question. The hashtag and the Ravens have to be together. So no space. Hashtag Ravens all one. Haywood Jablomi. That is good. I was like, what an interesting last name. That's good stuff. Haywood, you just made me laugh out loud. I said, what's up, dog, to you, Nick. So you got a fan already. Attendance Squad said, Joey, didn't Bateman get injured in the Bills game? He did, but he came back late in that 4th quarter. You guys let me know free agent you want to sign. Moggs says Tyreek, Diggs, Godwin, or Palmer. Palmer has youth on his side. That would be a huge plus. Moggs, you are correct. Palmer does have youth on his side. Do you know what else he has on his side? He's a Tennessee Volunteer. That's another thing he has on his side. Ravens King, way to fix that question. If you guys want to ask a question like Ravens King and possibly get it on our mailbag, you guys, all you have to do is use hashtag Ravens in the chat down below and then ask your question. Or ask your question and then use hashtag Ravens. Whatever you do, you just got to have hashtag Ravens somewhere in there so that way our software can pull it up. We can put you on screen. But if you have any questions for me about anything, go ahead, ask me down below and use hashtag Ravens. Prince wants Stephon Diggs. Prince, I wouldn't mind Stephon Diggs, but also I think he just kind of fits into like I think he fits a lot into the receivers we already have on the roster, and I just want someone different. I want a big possession, go jump up and get it receiver. That's what I want. Ooh, 10X squad. Hashtag Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. What do you think Lamar's problems in the playoffs are? Good question. Does that work? Okay, that does work. Great. Joseph said, we don't need anything on offense. We need defense. Yeah, Joseph, you're correct. But also, I don't think an extra wide receiver would hurt. I think we go defense heavy in the draft. I see us getting a pass rusher, a secondary player, and then a offensive lineman all in the first 3 rounds. Keep asking me questions down below. I'm about to go into this next segment. We have 36 likes. I need us to be at 50 by the time I get out, okay? Challenge for the flock, challenge for you guys. Let's get to 50 likes by the time I get back. Jack, are we ready? Nikki Lopez, are we ready? Nick is ready. I'm ready. Next segment coming at y'all right now. What's up, guys? Welcome into the show. I'm your host, Joey Petersen, and on today's show, we're talking 2 big things. First off, the encouraging news that the Baltimore Ravens just got. Hint, it has to do with Lamar Jackson. So on the back half of today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about Lamar's future with the Ravens. And guys, I know we're all kind of still getting over what happened this last weekend. And if you want the Ravens to make the playoffs next season, I need you to do me a favor, and I need you to like the video, okay? I just need us to get to the dance because I know that Super Bowl is just around the corner. So if you want that to happen too, go ahead, give me a thumbs up. So guys, in my opinion, and this is where we're going to start, and this has to do with the encouraging news, I think Lamar took a massive step forward in this year's playoffs, okay? I know that the end result was the same. I know this team lost to the Bills, just kind of how they lost last year against the Chiefs. And I know he turned it over a time or two in the first half, but still, I think when you look at those 2 games side by side, it's easy to say, oh, it's the same thing as last year. Guys, it's not. He played far and away better. He had a completion percentage 28% higher. Sure, he got less total yards, but a lot of those yards last year against the Chiefs were garbage time yards. He had more total touchdowns, double them actually. He had a quarterback passer rating of 40 points higher. Fortunately, he didn't have the same amount of turnovers, okay? And my take on his playoff performance and my take on where he stands this offseason, going into the next season and the playoff struggles, is he did this team no favors in the first half. That's obvious. But also at the same position and at the same time, this team would not have had a chance in the second half of that game if he didn't do what he did, okay? If he didn't play how he played, they would not have a chance to go for 2 to possibly put it into overtime, okay? So yes, he put them in a hole, but he's also the one that got them out of it. And I think that's a massive step forward for his playoff woes, okay? And if you're with me, then I think, you know what? I think we can all rock with Lamar Jackson. I think we can all say, you know what? He dug us into a hole. He dug us into a hole, but I think we all see the steps forward. So now, let's get into the encouraging news, because I know that's why you clicked on this video. I know that's why you want to watch this video. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a comparison, okay? And I'm not going to lie to you. When you hear it originally, you're going to say, what the hell? Because one of these quarterbacks probably has 45 rush yards in the entirety of his career. But I think it's encouraging to see Peyton Manning and Lamar Jackson side by side because they are very similar with how their first 7 seasons have lined up, okay? They both went 3-5 in the playoffs. They both won multiple MVPs, and they both had 0 Super Bowl performances, okay? I'm going to go into this comparison a little bit deeper in just a second, but before I do that, what do you guys think? Do you have faith in Lamar Jackson? Give me a yes, Give me a no in the comment section down below. You might get hit with a YouTube ad break in just a couple of seconds. When that time comes, don't worry about it. Scroll down in the comment section, find this pinned comment, and give me a yes or a no. So the funny thing about Peyton Manning is a lot of people only remember him for kind of that end of his career, right? The Super Bowl in Denver, the middle career Super Bowl in Indianapolis. But I think a lot of people forget how bad those first 7 years were for him when it comes to the playoffs. 1999, they lost 19-16 as the number 2 seed in the AFC. Then in 2000, just the next year, they lost 23-16 in overtime. Their offense had 0 points on 3 defensive turnovers. Then 2002, fast forward a couple of years. Okay, what, 4th year in the league, 5th year in the league, maybe he's going to figure it out. Nope. They lost 41-0 to the New York Jets, and he went 14 for 31 for 137 yards and 2 touchdowns. Okay? Then in 2003, what happened? Lost AFC Conference Championship game, 24-14. He had 4 total turnovers. And then in 2005, everybody said, this is year freaking 7. He's got to figure it out. They're the 1 seed. Maybe he will. No, they lost 21-18. Okay? But then what happened the next year? 2006. Peyton Manning won his first Super Bowl. Okay? So I'm not sitting here telling you Lamar Jackson's going to win a Super Bowl next year. No, that's not what you're hearing. What I am saying, though, and what you are hearing is there's been a 2-time Super Bowl champion whose career started off very similarly, and yet he got over the hump, and yet he won those Super Bowls when everybody was saying he wouldn't, when everybody was saying he couldn't. And it's hard to believe people were saying that about Peyton Manning at one point, but I promise you, they were. This is from James Adler. After one of his first playoff losses, he says, despite posting his typical 4,200 yards passing during the regular season, Peyton Manning and his Colts flopped once again in the playoffs, this time suffering an embarrassing 41-0 loss to the New York Jets. Adler went on to say, over the next few years of Manning's career, there grew a continuing theme. Rip through the regular season, but stumble in the playoffs. Things in the postseason began to get so bad that some suggested he just didn't have what it takes to win the really big game. Those sound familiar? Genuinely, I think you could have just taken out Peyton Manning's name. I think you could have thrown in Lamar Jackson's name, and I think you could have put in that quote from Stephen A. Smith or from Nick Wright, and I don't think anybody would have bat an eye, okay? Coming up in just a little bit, I'm talking a little bit more about Lamar's future with Baltimore and why I think this is still the guy that's going to deliver the 3rd Super Bowl to this franchise. But before we get into any of that, I got to talk about our friends over at Prize Picks. And you know what, guys? It is now or never because the big game's almost here. So don't miss out on the last football game of the season with Prize Picks because it's the best place to win cash while watching the big game. Prize Picks is also giving away a free pick for the big game where one of the starting quarterbacks will only need to throw 1 yard to win. If you're correct on at least one more stat projection, you can win real cash. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. So check out the promo tab to tail any of our Super Sweat and Millie Winners big game lineups. If you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can win a split of $1 million in promo funds. Let's look at the NFC Championship game coming up this Sunday. We got Jay Daniels against the Eagles, and I got him more than half a passing yard, so take advantage of that one. I've got the more on Terry McLaurin and A.J. Brown for receiving touchdowns or rushing touchdowns. I think both of those guys are going to find the end zone. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need a win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. The link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, run your game. And the thing I think that I love about all the Lamar Jackson hatred and slander, and don't get me wrong, I hate it, but I love that Lamar Jackson is more frustrated than anybody else. I love the fact that he sees it too, that it motivates him. I promise you, he's going to take every ounce of this into the offseason and into next season because coming off of the loss, guys, he was very candid. This is what he had to say postgame. He said, tonight, the turnovers. We can't have that shit. That's why we lost the game. Hold on to the effing ball. Sorry for my language, okay? And I still have all the faith in the world that Lamar will win a Super Bowl, okay? I've said it before, and I've said it again, but just because you haven't done something doesn't mean you can't do something. There's a very big difference in the two of those things. But I still have all the faith that you've got the guy in your organization, in your system that will one day lead this team to the promised land. Because you got to look at the fact of, like, what are the other options out there? You want somebody who's not going to throw 45 touchdowns and 4 picks in a year? I would take that guy in the playoffs every single day. I trust he's going to get over it, okay? I want to hear from you guys, though. Take a guess for me. What is the % chance that Lamar Jackson wins a Super Bowl? Let me know in the comment section down below. Scale it 1 to 100. If you guys haven't already, I would love if you hit that subscribe button, okay? We got daily Ravens videos, breaking news coverage. We got weekly watch parties, weekly live shows. The best part about it all is 100% free. We've gained over 10,000 subscribers since the month of August. We're growing like crazy. I want you guys to be the next people to join us right here on the Ravens Rundown. I went into this just a little bit ago, but like I've said this before when we've talked about this conversation. We've had this conversation, but you can't until you do, okay? Do you know the difference in those two words, right? I hear a lot of people saying Lamar can't win the big one. No, Lamar hasn't won the big one. But just because he hasn't won the big one doesn't mean he can never, because they've said that about a lot of people in their careers, okay? Here are some notable late Super Bowl winning QBs. John Elway, took him 15 seasons to do so. Steve Young, took him 10 seasons to do so. We talked about Peyton Manning already, 9. Drew Brees, 9. Aaron Rodgers, 6. Okay? All of those guys at some point in their careers couldn't win the big ones. They can't win a Super Bowl. Same things you're hearing about Lamar. Now, I do have to address the critics and say there is some validity to what they're saying. Because when you look at the playoffs and you look at the record and you look at everything else, there is reason to have a little bit of skepticism, right? 3-5. Only 10 touchdowns in 8 playoff games. 7 picks. 4 fumbles. He has more turnovers than touchdowns in the 8 games that he's played. But guys, I still have faith. And I still, at the end of the day, think Lamar Jackson, without a doubt in my mind, gives this team the best chance to win a Super Bowl, okay? But also, I'll admit, I would like to see a little bit of change over the next couple of years, okay? I would like to see a little bit of improvement in these playoff games in the next couple of years. But if you think there's a player out there that could take this team, this Baltimore Ravens team, to a Super Bowl not named Lamar Jackson, show him to me, please, okay? I got faith in our guy. I got faith in it. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. This has been the Ravens Rundown. I am your host, Joey Petersen, for daily Ravens coverage you won't find anywhere else. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. All righty. I see a lot of positive people in the chat. My goal was 50 likes. We got to 45. We were close. We were close, okay? I see a lot of positive people. We got Ravens 76B more saying 100% chance Lamar wins a Super Bowl. I like that. Yika says 85%. We have the most of the pieces. We need a few more, and then I think we're set. Yika, I think we could have won it this year. I really do, man. Michael Stab is very confident, saying, what is that, 1,000,000%? Maybe 10,000,000%? Yeah, I think 10,000,000%. There we go, Michael. Ravens King says, Joey, we should get a cornerback in free agency like DJ Reed. I would love to, Ravens King. I just don't know if this team's going to have the funds to do so, especially if you re-sign Ronnie Stanley. You definitely won't. But DJ Reed's a baller, man. I talked about him a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago on the channel. Would love to see him in purple and gold. I really would. Prince Parham says 91%. Caden Walker says 1,000%. A lot of confident people. I love it. Thanks so much for tuning in, hanging out with us, guys. We got one more segment to come. It is the best segment of the week. If you want to get in it, if you want to be featured in it, if you want your questions to be on the show, use hashtag Ravens in the chat down below, right? So just like Ravens King did. He could have said hashtag Ravens. Joey, we should get a cornerback in free agency like DJ Reed. That could have made it on the show. If you guys have any questions about anything free agency, draft, the playoff loss, right? What the next couple months might look like, my dog, my life, anything you want to know, I will answer it right here for you guys. You have to use hashtag Ravens and ask the questions so that way it can be pulled up in our software. Attendance squad said, Joey, didn't Bateman get injured in the end of the Bills game? He did, but he came back in. It looked like it was just kind of one of those things that, like, both of his knees hit the turf at the same time, and it was frozen, it was cold, and I think that, like, that really hurt bad. Prince said, Joey, we should sign Max Crosby because he needs a winning team. We can't sign Max Crosby. You would have to trade for Max Crosby. He is not going to be a free agent. Caleb Swan says 100% chance Lamar Jackson will win a Super Bowl. Caleb or Kyleb, couldn't agree more, my friend. Really could not agree more if I tried. Jack, how are we looking on questions? 2 or 3 more. Okay, we need 2 or 3 more questions. Okay. Okay, let's get 2 more questions and then we'll start. Oh, then I think we're fine. Yeah, let's start. Yeah, we'll start, but would love to get some more questions in the chat down below. Feel free, ask a question, use hashtag Ravens, so that way we can pull it up in our software. We're about to get into it. We got 47 likes. I want to have 55 by the time we get back. It's a challenge. I know you guys can get it. Jack, we ready? All righty, let's do it. Coming at you in 3, 2, 1. Question off the top of today's show. We got a comment record on Ravens Rundown. That's 61 comments on a single video. Can you beat it? Can you beat 61 comments? If so, get in the comment section down below. Prove it to me. And if you do, we'll give you a shout out on next Tuesday's live show because that's where all of these comments are coming from. So if you were there, that's awesome. And if you weren't, I'll give you a shout out next Tuesday's live show. Who can beat the comment record? Go. We'll start with our live comments coming from our live mailbag. We got Cool Fire Warzone. It says hashtag Ravens. Do you really think we are going to trade Andrews? Cool Fire, if I had to put my money on it, I would say no. I don't really think that this team is going to trade Andrews. But if I had to choose what they do, I would say trade him. Okay, right? $11 million you could get back if you traded Mark Andrews. But I don't think they're going to do it. He's a legend in this franchise. He's a legend on this team. He's the touchdown receptions leader in the history of the Baltimore Ravens. I just think he means too much to Lamar. I think these coaches love him too much. I don't think he's going to go anywhere, but I think he maybe should. Okay, next comment coming from Coop DeLoop. What's up, Coop? Says, should John Harbaugh be on the hot seat after Sunday? Good question, Coop. Not surprised by it. I thought this was going to be a question I was going to get. I don't think so. I honestly think what I saw in the playoff game against the Steelers and what I saw, honestly, in the playoff game against the Bills, I thought those were 2 really well-coached games. I thought Todd Monken was great. I thought John Harbaugh was great. I thought these teams were prepared. It just came down, in my opinion, to players making mistakes. John Harbaugh didn't call Lamar Jackson to throw the pick. John Harbaugh didn't tell Lamar Jackson to fumble it. John Harbaugh didn't tell Mark Andrews to fumble it. John Harbaugh didn't tell Mark Andrews to drop the 2-point conversion that would have tied the football game. So I think even if, there was a poorly coached game, I think John Harbaugh still would have come back. I think he's been here too long. I think these guys love him too much. Like Eric DaCosta, the ownership group, just the entire front office. So I don't think he will. I don't think he should, but he's definitely going to be back, no doubt about it. But what say you guys? Should John Harbaugh be on the hot seat after Sunday? after the playoff loss, after the 5th playoff loss since 2018. Should he be on the hot seat? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. Let me know in the comment section down below. Next up, we got Michael Stab. Says hashtag Ravens. Do you like Godwin? Because I really do. Because he has some height, he has the speed, and I think he'd be a really good wide receiver 3. Do you think Rashad Bateman will step up next season and have 1,000? Okay, two-parter, Michael. I'll answer the first one first. Obviously, that's how it works. Do you like Godwin? Because I really do. I do like Godwin. I think he'd be a great addition. I just think he might be a little bit too expensive for what the Ravens might be willing to pay and willing to do in free agency. Okay, I do love his size. I think he's a little bit over 6 foot. I think he's 6'1". I think he's fast. He is coming off injury, so I'm curious if that will lessen the price a little bit. I'm hopeful that it does, but I do like Godwin. I think he'd be a great pairing. I think he could even be a wide receiver too. And speaking of that, Rashad Bateman, will he step up next season, have 1,000 yards? I don't see any reason why not. The only thing is, there's only so many yards to go around. When you have Lamar Jackson with what he can do with his legs, when you have Derrick Henry with what he can do with his legs, when you have Zay Flowers, possibly Mark Andrews again, there's only so many yards people could get. I wouldn't be surprised if he has 1,000 next year. I wouldn't bet on it, though. Next up, coming from Yeecaw. What's up, Yee? Hashtag Ravens. Hey, Joey P. We need to be aggressive this offseason. I would love to see Ball make a splash in a pass rusher like we did with Henry. Who's available and who would you sign? So I'm going to tell you this. I would rather go pass rusher in the draft because they're young, and I think some good pass rushers can fall to you in that 27 range, which is where you're picking right now. Okay, I already talked about this a couple days ago, but Jack Sawyer, James Pierce Jr., Jalen Walker, those are 3 guys realistically I could see falling to Baltimore in that 27th pick, okay? And then also other than that, I think if you're going to make a big move to get a pass rusher, I'm in my opinion, why not trade and try to swing a guy like Max Crosby or try to swing a guy like Micah Parsons and just make an absolute splash? Okay, so I think pass rusher, but in my opinion, I think go for pass rusher via the draft or via trade. Thanks so much for the question you called. Thanks so much for always being here, always hanging out with us. Really do appreciate you. I appreciate a lot of people. Yekaw's one of them. The other kind of people I appreciate are our friends over at Game Time. If you guys want to go check out Game Time, now is the best time to do so because they got the best seats, they got the lowest prices, and it is all guaranteed. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Ladies and gentlemen, it is playoff time, and I can promise you there's nothing that can quite compare to the rush and excitement you feel watching your team win a playoff game, either at home or on the road. And if you want to have that memory for the rest of your life, that's where Game Time can help out. The connection you feel to your team, your city, fellow fans around you in those electric playoff environments leads to bonds that last a lifetime. Game Time has an awesome new feature. It's called Game Time Picks, and that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so that way you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Guys, I have so many great memories with my dad, with my uncle, with my grandfather, with my friend at so many different playoff games, so many different sporting events. That's the great thing about tickets to events, whether it's music, comedy, theater, or a sporting event. Those memories last in your head for a lifetime. So when you're buying tickets, you're not just buying a ticket, you're buying a memory. Use that on your parents, okay? So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is Game Time. The link in the promo to this, link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Up next, we got Ravens King saying, hashtag Ravens, we draft safety Malachi Starks in the first round. I think he means Malachi Starks out of Georgia. I would love it. I think that the Eagles are a fantastic kind of view of how NFL-ready Georgia football players are, okay? Look at what they've done with Nolan, with Jalen Carter, with Jordan Davis, with Nakobe Dean. They have drafted Georgia players time and time again because it's worked out for them over the last few years. Kirby Smart, especially on the defensive side of the ball, those guys who come out of that program, although I do hate Georgia, they are ready to play in the NFL. So Malachi Starks, I would love that. I don't know how far he would fall, but if he's available at 27 and there's not that many great pass rushers or offensive linemen available, I would love it. I think it'd be a great pick. Snappy Salad says, how much did Zay's absence affect the end result of the Bills game? That's a good question. Because you see what Zay did this year, and he had a great year. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I have a hard time feeling that Zay Flowers would have made that big of a difference in the Bills game. He would have made a big difference, 100%. But I think where the Bills beat you was just because of the mistakes you made. Because the interceptions, the fumbles, the drops. And if Zay Flowers was playing in that game, I think Lamar Jackson still throws that interception. If Zay Flowers is playing, I think Lamar and Mark both fumble, right? And so Zay's absence is not what caused all those silly mistakes. It was those players making them. And I don't know if Zay being there would have changed that, okay? But I want to hear from you guys. Do the Ravens win if Zay plays? Let me know in the comment section down below. Type W for win, type L for loss. Curious to see what you guys think on Zay Flowers and whether his attendance, whether his play would have helped this team win or not. Up next, we got Tim Rollins. What's up, Tim? Do you think that we could trade Andrews for Max Crosby? No, not straight up. I think that could be packaged. Actually, no, I don't. Tim, they've got a guy named Brock Bowers who, in all other instances, most likely would have been Rookie of the Year, but Jaden Daniels just went absolutely ballistic. But he broke records for rookie tight ends. NFL history records, right? Not just in the Raiders, across the entire National Football League. And so I don't think they need Mark Andrews. They definitely wouldn't give up Max Crosby for Mark Andrews and some other things. Sure, you'd have to package it in, but no. I don't think so. Good idea, though, but they're too set at the tight end spot already currently. Next up, we got Attendant Squad saying, #Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Make sure, thanks for getting that all in there, Attendant. Said, what do you think Lamar's problem in the playoffs are? Isn't this the question, Attendant? This is the question. And the tough thing is I don't know if there's an answer. I really don't. You can see improvement from the loss against the Chiefs last year to the loss against the Bills, and I love that he's taking a step in the right direction, but it's obvious that through his first 8 career playoff games, through the 5 career playoff losses, that there is a problem. I think maybe just the moment's a little big. I hate to not say that Lamar's a clutch player, and I hate to even hint at the fact that he might be anti-clutch, but there's part of me that's worried that maybe just the stage is too bright, maybe the moment's too big. I think there's so much pressure on him to win a Super Bowl. I think that sometimes can weigh down on a player. I don't think it's a cold factor. I don't think it's a cold thing, because if you look at his splits in the cold over the last couple of years, he's been pretty damn good. So I think maybe it's just the amount of pressure that's on him to win in the playoffs. Next up, we got Yika again. It says, #Ravens, I want to invest more in offensive line. We can't afford LJ to have another season-ending injury. Anyone we should keep an eye on in this class? Yika, I don't know if you mean free agency class or if you mean draft class, but I'm going to answer it as if you mean draft class. Yeah, there's a couple of guys to keep your eye on. Unfortunately, I don't think any that are going to fall super late to you at that 27th pick. A lot of the guys that I would use a high pick on are going to go high. They're going to go in the top 10. Banks out of Texas. You got the Will Campbell out of LSU. Thank you. And those guys are going to go top 5, top 10 easy. What I would do, honestly, I'd re-sign Stanley. I'd keep him at left tackle. I'd keep Rosengarten at right tackle, and I would just run it back with these same guys on this offensive line. Maybe draft interior, because Patrick McCarry is also a free agent, so he will most likely be gone. And so I would draft interior offensive line and just run it back with the same core 5. I know it's an injury risk. I know that, but I think keeping that left tackle consistent is really good. I think the last question of the day, Digital Realty. Interesting. It says hashtag Ravens. Should Mark Andrews have talked to the media? Interesting question, Digital. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, this tweet came from Gianna earlier this week on Monday. It says tight end Mark Andrews, who dropped the game time pass, did not show up to locker room cleanout after also not being available after the game. The last chance to talk to him this season until OTAs. Yeah, I do think so. And not because, I think he owes the media anything. I don't think that's the reason. But, dude, Lamar talked to the press after the game. Everybody talked to the press the next day. I get it. I know you're heartbroken. I know you dropped that pass. I know you're more frustrated about it than anybody in the world. But at some point, be a professional. Be a teammate. Talk to the media, right? So much hate, so much criticism is going to go on Lamar. And I think this is just a chance for you to deflect a little bit of that. And so I wish he would have talked to him. I think it's a little bit sorry that he didn't. And if this is how his career ends at a Raven, I hate that it ended that way, not only with the drop, but also just ducking the media. But hey, that's just life. I think you should talk to him, though. Be honest for me. How do you feel about Mark Andrews not talking to the media on Monday? Do you care? Does it affect you at all? Or you're just whatever, doesn't matter. Let me know down below. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button because we've got daily coverage of your favorite team right here on the Ravens Rundown. I'm your host, Joey Petersen, here off season long, here every single day. So to never miss a moment, make sure to hit subscribe. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's all she wrote. You guys let me know. Should John Harbaugh be on the hot seat after Sunday? Let me go back up to the comment section, see if we got some. We got some yes. We got some no's. Yeah, see you, Bills Mafia. Pinto says we can't beat the Bills. Pinto, we beat them 35-10 the regular season. It just seems they seem to be the Achilles heel in the playoffs, unfortunately. Madison said no because John Harbaugh is a great coach. Very kind of you, Madison. He needs some positivity. Okay, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate every single one of you. We'll be doing these every Tuesday for the rest of ever until I am off the face of this earth. So you guys know where to be. 5 o'clock Eastern every single Tuesday with producer Jack, with Nikki Lopez, for producer Jack, for Nikki Lopez. I'm Joey Petersen. This has been Ravens Rundown. Y'all have an awesome day.